Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. We continue along our journey through the realm of horror. We're in the 90s now, and we've got a fun panel. Over here we've got Richie. Richie, how's it going?
Yeah, good, Malcolm.
He's doing good.
Fun. This is, I'm very familiar with this panel.
Just a little.
I work with Steve a lot in the wrestling trivia, and I've on Jordan and Austin's show, so it should be interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's on this list.
Moving along, we've got Austin. Austin, how's it going?
What's going on, Malcolm? We're going to talk about a decade of horror that's really underrated in my book, as you'll see as we go through this night. A decade that doesn't get talked enough and the greatest of horror. So what do you say we crack open a Surge, grab us some Dunkaroos, turn off your Tamagotchis, and let's talk about the 90s.
Moving along, we've got Steve. Steve, how's it going?
Not much. Just hanging around with a bunch of some freaks, some geeks, and maybe I got the wrong decade, but it doesn't matter. We're all freaks and geeks up in this place, and we're here to rank some top 90s horror flicks that are, definitely in my wheelhouse more than it was the last time I was on here.
And last but not least, we've got Jordan. Jordan, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm ready to talk some 90s horror. And I could go for some Dunkaroos. That sounds good. So I'm up for that.
But with that being said, what I always start is when I do the polls on the day after, things get interesting. This is what the poll, how the poll ranked our list from the 80s.
I'm sure it's a fustercluck.
But once again, they agreed with our first three, but then they had to fly it for Poltergeist at 5, 6, Child's Play, Creepshow. Night of the Creeps ended up at 12, and Hellraiser 2 ended up really low somehow. Time for the Blob. And yeah,
Man,
a lot of people were angry. A lot of people were angry about No Evil Dead 2, but
this guy was angry because there was no Evil Dead 2.
But with that being said, maybe one will come up tonight. But Richie, what is the first movie? What is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Well, that would be me.
Cool. I'm
Richie.
Richie. No, this guy. This guy. That guy next to me.
This guy.
That guy.
Okay.
That guy.
This guy knows.
Go ahead, Richie. So I know you're the
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool. I'm first. You know what? I was gonna yes, but so I don't know. I'm gonna throw an interesting one out there. I'm gonna go just see if it makes the list. I don't know. I'm gonna go Halloween H2O. I think it's a decent Halloween movie. Is it one of the best? No, but I think I do enjoy the hell out of this. So I'm curious to see. I just want to get the maybe the more on way first. So Halloween H2O.
Austin, what do you say about Halloween H2O?
That's going to be a no from me, Richie. Halloween H2O doesn't hold up. I rewatched it not too long ago when we did our tier ranker for 90s horror. It just it doesn't really hold up as a reboot of sorts, coming after Halloween 1 and 2. It has some pacing issues, has weird stuff with the mask being inconsistent throughout the whole movie. The music is strange. It feels off. It's just kind of a mediocre sequel in the long run. I think they did a better job of doing the the updated story of the most recent 2018 Halloween. So one of the best 90s horror movies. I don't hate it, but I'm going to say no.
Steve, what do you say about Halloween H2O?
Austin does address some issues about Halloween H2O. Personally, that was my introduction to Halloween, so I'm gonna give it a yes. This was the first Halloween movie I saw on VHS before I actually even got to saw the original Halloween. Yes, I know there's some, it definitely is a product of its time for sure, and it's very evident in several scenes. But just looking back, it's for me, it's a nice retro trip back to the 90s. And I liked how it basically skipped over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just try to restart it from where it was at the beginning. So I'm gonna vote yes, though I have a feeling this might get bounced out.
Jordan, what do you say about Halloween H2O?
Well, this is one that I actually haven't seen, one of my few blind spots, but it's not really one that I'm really clamoring to go see. There's in my mind, I feel like, I haven't seen it, so it's hard for me to judge really, but I mean, of all the ones that I could potentially watch, there's probably like 3 or 4 other ones that I'd rather watch first out of the ones I haven't seen. So yeah, I got to give it a no, probably.
This is one I think I've seen bits and pieces of, but when it comes to this Halloween sequels, I have no idea. Just like some of the other franchise sequels that may come up today, I have no idea what ones I've seen. There was some I watched specifically for this. The Halloween actually was not one that was available to me to watch. But so unfortunately, it's not going to make the list. Austin, what is your first movie you're going to bring up?
All right, I think there's definitely a few obvious ones that we'll get to here very shortly that will easily make a list. So I'm going to go with a personal pick that actually got a lot of support when we did our Rankum episode, or excuse me, not a Rankum episode, our Tier Ranker episode. Excuse me, that's your show, Malcolm. It's Rankum what we're on right now. But I'm going to go with the 1990 creature feature Tremors. Tremors is a near perfect film for what it is trying to do. It has an almost perfect script of getting across a lot of information very quickly, very likable characters. You got clever ways of keeping the group isolated in this town, really inventive creature, playing this like floor is lava kind of stuff, but awesome monster design. So everything's very practical. The way it sets up and pays off a lot of things throughout the movie. You get to know every character that's running around, and to me, it has one of the great scenes in cinema history: the reveal of Burt Gummer's basement and the shootout that ensues in there is one of the great scenes in cinema history. I think it's the best creature feature of the 90s. Perfect blend of horror and comedy and action. So my pick is Tremors.
Steve, what do you say about Tremors?
I say I give a thumbs up to Tremors. Tremors is an awesome creature feature. Another thing, this movie, another sequel that I was introduced to through its direct-to-video sequel, Tremors 2, and I
not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie, and I love Tremors 2. But then when I heard there was a 1, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check this out. Rented it at my local VHS mom and pop store, and dude, my God, and the cast too: Fred Ward, Kevin Bacon, Reba freaking McEntire. Michael Gross. Is it Michael Gross? Michael Gross?
Michael Gross.
Yeah.
Michael Gross. Oh yes, Burt Gummer.
The father from Family Ties. Not much more to say that Austin didn't elaborate on. But just gonna have to give that a good old thumbs up. I agree.
Jordan, what do you say about Tremors?
Oh yeah, I think Tremors is awesome. So when I first saw Tremors, I was kind of unfamiliar with the cast, but I really grew to really like them. They're people that I recognize now, like that's already been mentioned: Fred Ward, Michael Gross, and then even Reba McEntire. Got a little more appreciation for her. I'm not huge into country music, but she was fun in the movie, and so yeah, this is a movie that I go back to all the time. Like it's just a lot of fun with them. because who doesn't love some sandworms, some good old graboids? So yeah, I gotta say yes to Tremors.
And with that, Tremors does make the list. I haven't seen it. This is one that I've heard so much about, but unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere for me. But I'm hopefully going to try and watch it at some stage. But
Malcolm, I've only seen it over 300 times. It's a movie I've seen more than any other movie on the planet, and like only over like I'm not even exaggerating. I've seen this movie that many times. Like I love it that much. So I wish I could expand my knowledge to you, but it's a great movie. You should check it out. It's an almost perfect movie for what it is. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hey, sorry.
It's all right. Richie, what is your opinions on Tremors?
I think Tremors was a fun movie. Just to recap, because I was out. How many people? What's the sort of verdict on it? So as people saying,
It's already made it on. So
okay. Yeah, no, I think it's a fun movie. I don't know if I'd put it on a top 12 personally, but it's a fun movie. I would say no, but I have no issue with it making top 12. But yeah, I think it's a good movie.
But with that, we go over to Steve.
All right, so I am not going to pick the obvious one, despite what the shirt that I'm wearing. If anybody's seeing, it's a Scream 2 shirt. I shall let the next person elaborate if he chooses to. So with that being said in mind, I'm going to pick. I consider this a horror movie, even though other people consider some in a different kind of genre and crime. I'm picking The Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is a top tier masterpiece. It's one of the few I consider it a horror film, and it's one of the few horror films, in my opinion, that won Best Picture. It won Best Picture, it won Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, Adapted Screenplay, and Best Director. The big five of the Oscars. And I mean, this had set in motion an iconic performance in Anthony Hopkins, even though he was only in it for a limited amount of time compared to how long Jodie Foster was in it. And I mean, nice canteen, the attack in the prison cell, Buffalo Bill, Tom Petty, all that other jazz. I know people I don't know if some people will consider it a horror, more of a crime thriller, but I mean, the fact that you have two serial killers in one movie, and you have the FBI trying to entice one in order to catch the other, I consider it a horror movie. It has horrific things in it. I picked Silence of the Lambs. What says you?
Jordan, what do you say about Silence of the Lambs?
Well, Silence of the Lambs has one of my favorite quotes. It's just fun to quote all the time. It puts the lotion in the basket. Who rubs the lotion on the skin, or else it gets the hose again. So yeah, Silence of the Lambs is awesome, and I actually just saw it for the first time earlier this year for the very first time. So I was late to the party on it. I think because I don't always just gravitate to like typical Oscar movies necessarily. So when it won all these Oscars, I knew that it was a great movie, but I'm just kind of like, with my track record, I don't know if I'm really gonna like it. But I loved it. Like I thought that it was awesome, and Anthony Hopkins is just awesome. And then seeing Buffalo Bill in there, he's a great serial killer, kind of creepy guy. So yeah, I'll say yes for Silence of the Lambs.
But yeah, this is one of those ones that I did tease on one of Jordan's shows that I did have a slight hot take on Silence of the Lambs, and that is I don't consider it a horror movie. It is more, I am one of those people who considers it's more of a crime movie. I mean, it's one of those ones when it comes to thrillers, I tend to say it like lumbered in the fire at some time, but this is what I consider more of a crime drama movie than a crime thriller movie as well. So I'm going to say no, but I think I know it's probably going to make it in. Richie, what do you say about Silence of the Lambs?
Look, I can definitely see the argument for it being like a crime drama or thriller or whatever. But like I do think it is a horror movie.
as well. I don't think it's out of place being a horror movie. And it's like Anthony Hopkins pulls out one of the best performances like ever as handled, like and even with the short amount of screen time he's got. It's just an iconic film. We did. We sort of talked about Anthony Hopkins yesterday, and I think just off the back of that performance, he kind of got, I think we're raving about it. So I would say yes.
And Austin, what would you have said about Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, absolutely, 100%. It is absolutely a horror movie. The original novel it's based on is a horror novel, and psychological horror is still horror. It's one of those ones that kind of skirts the line between crime thriller and horror, but there's a lot of movies that skirt the lines of horror as well, like Jaws or Alien, that I still consider horror as well. So Silence of the Lambs is great all over. Jonathan Demme's direction is awesome. Every performance is spectacular. It's one of the few horror movies that is gained Academy praise. So it has to be on the list. Silence of the Lambs for sure.
But if that Silence of the Lambs doesn't make the list, Jordan, what is your first movie you're going to bring up?
Well, I want to bring up one that I saw once when I was younger, but I gave it a rewatch recently, and that's Candyman. Candyman. Should I say it 5 times and see if he appears? But Candyman's awesome. Like, it's one of my favorite horror movies from the 90s, and Tony Todd. I mean, what more can you say about him that hasn't already been said? He gives an absolutely amazing performance, and funny enough that I just watched the movie Sideways for our comedy show coming up for 2000 comedy, and Virginia Madsen's also in Sideways and Candyman. So I'm getting to be more familiar with her recently, and just a lot of fun. Like, it also, shout out to the score. Like, it has a really cool score. It's one that I put on all the time. So I gotta go with Candyman, and I haven't seen the new one yet, but it's high on my list. I definitely want to check it out. So
I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take everything Jordan just said and reverse it. I've seen the new Candyman. I have not seen the original Candyman.
Okay.
So I can't talk about this. But Richie, what do you say about Candyman?
Yeah, it was on my list. Candyman's great. For some reason, I even though I'm good at movie release dates, I had it in my mind for a while that like Candyman is 80s movies. I guess it just got that aesthetic. But then I looked it up, and it counts as 90s. Tony Todd doesn't get talked about it enough as like a horror icon. I think he's just got this like sort of great menacing presence. Virginia Madsen's great. Candyman deserves to be on this list. Yes.
Austin, what do you say about Candyman?
Absolutely yes for Candyman. This is one that I revisited a few months ago that I hadn't seen in ages, and it is a classy horror movie, man. Like, it is really good. The score is excellent. The direction's actually very, very good. There's a lot of good social issues that come up, but they don't beat you over the head with it. Like, it's there if you want to grab onto it, but it can also be taken as a kind of killer movie. And Malcolm, can I have 30 seconds to rant about something real quick about this new Candyman? And it's for not so much the movie, but this trend in Hollywood that I'm sick of right now. Stop calling these sequels the same damn name as the original. I'm sick of this shit. Okay, Halloween and Halloween 2018. Stop it. Now we have 3 movies called Halloween, and I'm tired of it. We have Candyman. Oh, what's the sequel? Candyman. We have Scream. What's the new Scream? Oh, it's called Scream. There's a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out next year. It's a sequel to the original. What do we call it? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Knock this shit off, Hollywood, okay? It's fucking confusing. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of having to try to explain these timelines to people. And this could be solved by a simple subtitles. It's called subtitles. They're there for a reason, people. All right, we got a new Matrix movie. It's called Matrix Resurrections. It's not called The Matrix. You dopes. Like, knock this shit off. I'm calling it right now. Okay. For the 40th anniversary in 2024, mark the date down. What's today? October, whatever today is, October 9th, 2020. I'm calling it right now. 2024, the 40th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street. They're going to announce a new movie. They're going to have a new movie. It's going to be a direct sequel to the original, and they're going to call it, guess what? Nightmare on Elm Street. It's going to piss me off all over again.
Yep.
They're determined to do this shit
Exactly.
with every single franchise, and I'm sick of it. Knock this crap off and make a damn subtitle and distinguish it from the other ones. If you're going to call it Texas Chainsaw Massacre, tack a legacy on the end of it, or Reborn or something. Knock it off.
Yep. Exactly.
Rant over. Sorry, but yes for Candyman. Sorry. Anyways, back to the original.
But Candyman does make the list. Steve, what would you have said?
Candyman it's an iconic movie. You have Tony Todd, prime Tony Todd, filling in, being this iconic horror character who haunts people, and particularly Virginia Madsen's character, because of reminds her of a long lost love. Great score, great direction. Like the opening for Candyman is iconic itself. Just the opening shots of Chicago itself just sets up the mood. Yes. Notice how I said that 5 times.
Yep. Gotta do it 5 times.
But yeah, for my first one, I'm going to bring up. It's got a Carrie in it, so no shock there. But I'm bringing up the movie Event Horizon with Sam Neill. This is a movie I watched for the first time last year. I think we're doing a sci-fi movies of the 90s or something like that. But for Rankin, but this movie is just one of those ones that's. I mean, I honestly can't remember a lot about what it's about, but just the visuals and just seeing Sam Neill go full crazy and like really gets possessed by this mysterious entity or whatever's going on. But like, this is a lot of fun, and even the scares and stuff in this movie work. Like, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, but. This was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. The score is great, and even the psychotic acting from people like Sam Neill. That's just one of those ones that you didn't expect to see from someone who was hanging out with dinosaurs about 4 years before this. But Richie, what do you say about Event Horizon?
Shamefully, I'm gonna have to abstain. I haven't got around to this yet. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pass.
It's good.
Yeah.
Austin, what do you say about Event Horizon?
You know what? This movie didn't get enough love when we did our tier ranker episode, so I'm going to say yes for Event Horizon because I love Event Horizon and I love space horror because the unique thing about space horror that you can do is you not only have this threat of the sort of space hell that they're dealing with and the crew being taken over, but you also have spaceship problems. And spaceship problems are extra problems because unlike a slasher movie in the woods or something where you can run away, you can go to a destination. There's nobody to go where you're in space. You're stuck, and you gotta fix something. So you just have to deal with whatever you're dealing with, and it just adds that extra layer of tension. It's Paul W.S. Anderson, who's the guy who did Mortal Kombat and then went on to do the Resident Evil movies. This is easily his best movie, and he does a great job of setting up the tension. The visuals are actually really good, and Lawrence Fishburne is awesome. I'd have him as my space captain any day. He's a hell of a gravitas presence in the movie. So I'm going to say yes to Event Horizon.
Steve, what do you say about Event Horizon?
Despite all the arguments that have been made, I find other movies that I would like to put on a list here, so I'm going to have to say no. I've only seen it the one time, and for me, I don't know if I'm scared to go watch it again, but it terrified me when I watched it. So I don't know if I'm scared. It's childhood trauma that doesn't want to make me put on the list, or the fact that I saw it only once and haven't revisited since then. Again, like I said, there's other movies that I would like to explore before I put this on the list. But it would be in my honorable mentions. Just the fact that it just scared the shit out of me. But I'm passing. I'm going to say no.
Which means, Jordan, it's on you. What do you say about Event Horizon?
Well, Event Horizon is a movie. It's another one that I watched recently. I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately because we've been gearing up for October. But it's a movie that that really surprised me too, and like it's already been said about Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne, but even Jason Isaacs, he's great in it too. So, and yeah, Sam Neill is just terrifying. When you have this crew going out to investigate some other ship that disappeared, and all the crazy stuff that happened to this ship, it starts to happen to their ship, and so yeah, it's one that's kind of borderline. It kind of hovers around that number 12 spot for me, but I think that it just squeaks in for me. So I'm going to say yes. It'd be at the bottom of my top 12, but I'm going to say yes for Event Horizon.
That Event Horizon makes the list. Richie, what is your next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, my next one I'm going to bring up is a movie that Scream 3 tried to be, but this is the better version. I'm going to go Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I think the meta-ness is just I love the meta-ness and just the idea killing off like the cast. I think, and it's just sort of it almost reinvented the franchise. I think it's just it's one I go. It's one installment Nightmare installment I go back to watch. Maybe that and Dream Warriors. But yeah, I just think this movie's great, and I think it should be in the top 12. So yeah, New Nightmare.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare is on the table. Austin, what do you say about it?
Yes, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We would not have Scream without Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's him playing around in this meta horror world before he would bring it to full fruition with Scream. And even with that, New Nightmare's great. And I love the premise of it, where it's even Wes Craven himself in the movie, everybody kind of playing the versions of themselves, but where they have to keep making these nightmare movies within this movie in order to keep like this real demon entity of Freddy at bay. Like, it's kind of a cool premise. Like, to keep him under control, we got to keep making sequels. And so, it's this whole thing of, well, Heather Langenkamp, you got to play Nancy one last time. And like, it's just got really fascinating things in there. Really great visual style. Freddy's got a cool new kind of look in this movie. But yeah, some really, really good stuff. Some excellent filmmaking. It's Wes Craven coming back to prominence. So I'm going to say yes for New Nightmare.
Steve, what do you say about New Nightmare?
I've got to agree with the panel here, and definitely want to put New Nightmare on here. So before I ever watch a New Nightmare, I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3 in Spanish on Univision. Didn't understand didn't understand anything, but the images itself just was enticing for me just to stick it through and just watch it to the end, even though I didn't know a lick of Spanish. I do now, but that was the first Nightmare, and then the second Nightmare I ever watched was New Nightmare. I mean, he was meta before meta was cool. You have Heather Langenkamp coming back to play herself, and in a way, Nancy. Robert Englund kicking ass as himself, and as a different version of Freddy. And we can also include Milo Hughes, the undead kid from Pet Sematary, as
Nico Hughes. Yeah, Nico Hughes.
Milo, sorry.
Nico.
But
Nico.
As Heather's kid, and they also took different kills from certain from the franchise and made a turn out of it, especially the bedroom scene, which was a unique way to reinvent that kill scene. But yes, I'm gonna have to agree. Wes Craven's New Nightmare should be on the list.
And if that New Nightmare does make the list, Jordan, what would you have said?
I love a good movie that gets meta, especially the way New Nightmare does. Like, it's a lot of fun just seeing Heather Langenkamp interact with Robert Englund, seeing him as an actual kind of actor, and then seeing Freddy pop up in there, and seeing them put together the whole Freddy costume. You see him kind of playing with the Freddy claws and everything, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's some pretty inventive kills. I think that this movie kind of invigorated the franchise for me. So yeah, I would have said yes. So
yeah, I actually rewatched this week for this, and this is one I do definitely remember seeing back in the day. But yeah, I completely forgot how menacing Freddy was in this because, like I'd remembered him from the original. I mean, he was like more jokey and all that, but in this one's like they completely flipped it on its head, and like he's just menacing for like he doesn't break out into jokes and stuff. And I think it definitely shows like a really good counterbalance between movie and real life Freddy. And just a lot of fun. I would have this probably would have been a clean sweep. I would have said yes as well. And I believe this was the last Freddy movie until the reboot came in 2010.
Well, sort of. We had Freddy versus Jason in between, so we did have Robert Englund doing it one more time. But you know, technically, yes. As far as like a solo Freddy movie, yeah. After that, we only got the remake, yeah, with Rorschach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we move over to Austin. What is your next nomination?
I think it's time for a vampire movie, and I debated between two, but I'm going to go with the one that just speaks to my heart and just kicks ass all around, and that's Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn from '96. So From Dusk Till Dawn, it's such a blend of just two great genres because it starts out as this kind of crime on the road on the run movie with George Clooney, who's the most badass he's ever been as Seth Gecko. Like, he just oozes cool in this movie, and you can see why they casted him as Batman coming out of this movie, because like I probably would have too, based on this performance. But you got Tarantino himself playing like a real creepy weirdo, and he's great at it. And then of course you got Harvey Keitel and his kids, but on the run, and then it turns into a vampire movie once they get to the titty twister down in Mexico. And you got Danny Trejo and Salma Hayek and Cheech Marin running around, and it just becomes this batshit crazy vampire movie. And it does the best of both, because it's really interesting in the first half, and it's still an awesome horror action movie in the second half when it turns to the vampires. So it's my favorite vampire movie from the 90s. It's just balls to the wall, awesome all around. So I'm going to nominate From Dusk Till Dawn.
Steve, what do you say about From Dusk Till Dawn?
Robert Rodriguez is, I love Spielberg, I love Scorsese, but if I were to ever fashion myself after a director, I would fashion myself after Robert Rodriguez, and him just, I idolize everything he does. And most, but I agree. From Dusk Till Dawn is probably my favorite vampire movie of all time. It starts off as a crime drama, and it turns into a over-the-top, gory creature featured vampire, stick, people exploding everywhere, kids exploding, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen. Juliette Lewis, Harvey Keitel, Quentin Tarantino, George Clooney, Tom Savini, Fred Williamson, Salma Hayek, Cheech Marin. The list goes on and on. If you break it down, you can see certain actors playing role. For the love of God, Michael Parks playing the sheriff role for the first time that he would go on to play in Kill Bill and in Planet Terror. For sure, hands down, definitely From Dusk Till Dawn should make it on the list.
Jordan, what do you say about From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yeah, Dusk Till Dawn's awesome. Yeah, like it's just fun seeing the dynamic of George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. And for me, I actually really like Quentin Tarantino as an actor. I know not everybody does, but I think that he was awesome in this movie. And then just like all the cast that has been said, like the family with Harvey Keitel with his son and daughter in there, and then also seeing Cheech Marin just kind of going over the top of the guy, kind of just like welcoming everybody in, and then even playing multiple roles in the movie, which is fun. And then also Fred Williamson's super badass in the movie too. It's one of those movies where if you just saw this and you didn't know anything about it, the whole vampire part might actually surprise you, because like it's a little surprising. Even though I knew that it was coming when I first saw it, I was like wow, that really popped out and it's really cool. So yeah, like I really like what they do with all of that. So yeah, I'd say that From Dusk Till Dawn definitely deserves a spot.
And if that does make the list, this is one of the few Robert Rodriguez movies I haven't seen. But it's also one that I've been wanting to see because I think wasn't this one? Didn't Tarantino help write the script in this or something?
Yeah, he wrote the script and Rodriguez directed it. He was gonna direct it, but then I think he went on to do Jackie Brown instead. But they still used his script and obviously still put him in the movie. Yes.
Yeah. But Richie, what would you have said about From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yeah, I think we need some like vampire representation here, and this movie's badass. And it's something I could, I can go back to. It's got quite it's endless rewatchability. And yeah, so I would have said yes.
But Steve, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, so this one I've been holding on to for a little bit. I have a feeling that Jordan might not like this pick, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm going to go with there was no Sam Raimi in the 80s countdown. So I'm going to put a Sam Raimi's film in the 90s. I'm going to put down Sam Raimi's Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness, come on. This is one of the funniest horror movies of all time. It has great action scenes, great, and some people would more classify more horror rather than more comedy than horror, but there's still those horror elements. You still have that evil fog chasing Ash, even medieval ages. You still have him messing with the Necronomicon, even though he can't say the words that are directly lifted from the day the earth stood still. It's slapstick galore. Bruce Campbell's the fucking man. This one was the one where honestly, another movie that I saw first before I saw the other two movies. This one, Army of Darkness, on a good old fashioned VHS, and you can't beat the line. You got two things in this world, Jack and shit, and Jack just left town. So I mean, Army of Darkness. So come on.
Jordan, what do you say about Army of Darkness?
Well, Army of Darkness actually is a movie that I really love. Actually, I'm kind of known to be not a huge fan of Evil Dead 2, but because for me, mostly because I don't think that it can decide what type of movie that it wants to be, a horror or a comedy or like something off the wall. But Evil Dead 2 is slowly growing on me though. Like it's by far like not a bad movie. So yeah, but Army of Darkness it is when I really love this franchise because it kind of picks more of the comedy elements and it sticks with it and it does it really, really well. And who doesn't love Bruce Campbell and his boomstick, and just seeing like the man at a time, just like blowing zombies brains out, like it's a lot of fun. And I'm a huge Ash versus Evil Dead fan too. So so I'm gonna say Army of Darkness definitely deserves a spot on this list. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen one Evil Dead movie, and that's the first one, so I have not seen this one. But I do plan on getting along and seeing the rest of them, but I just, haven't got around to them. Richie, what do you say about Army of Darkness?
Yeah, this was going to be my next pick, actually.
Sorry, Richie.
Yeah, look, it's fine. There's other movies. This movie is really fun. I get the argument that like it's whether it's more comedy than horror, but it's still a lot of horror elements. So I'll just and it's part of a horror franchise. So so it's definitely a horror movie. It's a lot of fun. Probably one of the the funnier horror movies, maybe until Tucker Dale vs. Evil came along. In my opinion. This is great. Like I don't. Bruce Campbell's never been better, in my opinion. I would say yes.
And Austin, what would you have said about Army of Darkness?
I would have said a slight no, only because I like Evil Dead 2 better. And I think on this list, there's a lot of straight horror movies we haven't hit on yet that are I think horror comedy definitely deserves to be talked about. I love horror comedy. But just I think on this list there was better stuff I had on my personal list. That's the only reason. Evil Dead 2 is better. That's all. So I would have said no, but a slight no. It'd be like an honorable mention.
But Jordan, move on to you. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Well, so I think it's time to talk about it. We got to go for some of the heavy hitters now that we're halfway through it. So I got to bring up Scream. I mean, Scream is my favorite horror franchise of all time. Like I think it's just awesome, and the Ghostface, like I've already mentioned on previous shows, that I have a Ghostface costume that I've dressed up for Halloween multiple times. I would have worn it, but it's packed away in storage because I just moved recently. But yeah, but it has an awesome cast with David Arquette and Courtney Cox, Nev Campbell, and even some underrated performance from like Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy, even Liev Schreiber. So yeah, that's a good time, and one of my favorite scenes is that opening scene with Drew Barrymore too. Like I think that it's a lot of fun, and also like all the commentary that Scream kind of brings to the table too. Like it's a very smart movie, and it had really great dialogue too. Like if you just like sit and listen to the dialogue and the banter back and forth, like it's just a lot of fun and pretty smart. So yeah, Scream is like up there, like in my top probably 3 favorite horror movies of all time. So we got to have Scream on this list. It wouldn't be right if it wasn't on there. So
but yeah, Scream is absolutely yes for me. This is one that for the longest time I convinced myself I had seen until I actually watched it this year. And I found out I don't remember watching this. Maybe I just confused it with Scary Movie. Like I knew I'd seen Scary Movies, so I just convinced myself I'd seen it that way. But anyway, I have seen it now. The Scream franchise is great. I love all of them. So yeah, Richie, what do you say about Scream?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I'd be betraying myself. So I said no. Scream is one. Not only my favorite horror movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I think just the different the cast, or the fact that they're so meta and lampooning like other horror movies from the past decades. I just think it's just so clever, and it was as a kid probably not watching it before I was supposed to it scared the shit out of me. I just think this is I think it sort of almost like re-energized the horror genre for me, and Scream definitely.
Austin, what do you say? What would you have said about Scream?
Oh yeah. Scream is an easy yes. I mean, it was a turning point in horror movies because you had all these, much like what Pulp Fiction did for independent cinema, Scream did for horror cinema. As far as right afterwards, we saw this wave of these sort of self-aware meta horror movies that were trying to be sort of pale imitations. We saw stuff like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Bride of Chucky, which I like, but still, it was riding that wave. Urban Legends, things like that. All these movies that were kind of aware that they were horror movies. But nobody did it quite like Scream, and Wes Craven was just on top of the world, coming off of New Nightmare, and then doing this, and then Scream 2. Obviously, like he was just the king of the 90s. He was back on top, and it was definitely like it brought in a whole new wave of writers and stars, and it definitely was a turning point for horror. So yeah, absolutely needs to be on the list.
And Steve, what would you have said about Scream?
I mean, I showed off the shirt. While I am a fan of Scream 2, there would not be a Scream 2 if there wasn't a Scream. I mean, I'm not going to fold under peer pressure here. And no, I'm just kidding. I am folding under peer pressure here. Scream. And I'm trying to figure another clever. Everybody really summed it up good. I remember, honestly, before Scream, that the actual Halloween costume of the Scream killer was distributed before the release or something along the lines like that, or like a year before. And I remember my uncle wearing it. I'm like, well, dude, what the hell is that? And I didn't know what it was. And then when Scream came out, I'm like, oh shit, that's the costume my uncle was wearing the year before. And Scream is also one of my favorite horror film franchises, let alone film franchises. But yeah, Scream, and hopefully, just I'm trying to figure out a clever way, but I'll just move on. Let's go. Scream all the way.
Yeah.
So it's on me. There's 4 spots left, and I'm going to throw this on out there because because one, at the rate we're going, I don't know if it's going to come back round to me. And two, I'll be betraying myself if I don't even try to mention this. But I'm bringing up The Frighteners, directed by me, starring Michael J. Fox. But I mean, The Frighteners is a fun movie, and this is one. Once again, this is this may shock you, but this is one that I actually had never seen until this week. Because it's just one of his earlier movies that just slipped past me, and that because I wasn't really paying attention to horror at that point, or of movies in general, really. But this is one I have watched for the first time. It's a fun horror comedy, and yeah, The Frighteners is a great movie. Michael J. Fox is great in it. Richie, what do you say about The Frighteners?
Man, it's really I'm disappointed because obviously I'm also like part Kiwi and I have a soft spot for Peter Jackson, but I have to abstain because I haven't seen it, I haven't got around to it.
Ooh. Okay.
Austin, what do you say about The Frighteners?
I really do like The Frighteners. It's one that I've championed a lot as I like the visual style of it. The ghost stuff actually looks really cool. They get to do some inventive things where the ghosts can also kind of die as ghosts. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like they kind of kill people. Yeah, it is very underrated. I'm gonna give it a slight no, just because I think there's a couple of better movies still out there. But it's more like, man, it skirts that line. Because like if we were talking about the movies on this list being like S level superior stuff, then man, Frighteners is like an A+ for me. Like I really really like it. And if we had 15 spots on the list, I would skirt it in there. But I'm just gonna give it a slight no. But I definitely recommend people see it. I think it's really underrated.
But Steve, what do you say about The Frighteners?
Sorry to break your heart, Malcolm, but I'm gonna have to say no on this one. I don't love it. I like The Frighteners. I liked what it was going for. I love the visual style. I love Michael J. Fox, Jake Busey, was Lily Collins maybe in the movie? I think I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm thinking of a different actress. Anyways, I'm actually thinking of a different Peter Jackson movie. I don't know. It'll be mentioned later on, Richie. Yeah. So I actually have a better Peter Jackson movie that I like to put out there, but we'll see if we cross that threshold soon. But I'm gonna have to say also maybe a slight no.
And Jordan, what do you say about The Frighteners?
Well, this one's tough for me. Like I think this one for me too probably just misses the list for me, just because there's so many other movies I can think of. But if you watched our episode of Tournament Fights yesterday, you'll know Michael J. Fox is my favorite actor of all time. So I do have a lot of love for this movie, and also seeing some fun people pop up like Jake Busey. Like it's one of the few like roles where he's actually kind of decent in the movie for once. Or like Chi McBride, Arlie Ermey. Like who doesn't love the like crazy like drill sergeant guy popping up? So yeah, but unfortunately, though, as much as I do love this movie, that we can only have 12 on this list, and it'd probably be like 15 or 16th maybe out of the 90s. So yeah, it doesn't quite make it for me.
But yeah, I mean, fun fact: Jeffrey Combs was from Reanimated in this movie as well.
Nice.
But Richie, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm going to be bold here because Ian just brought it up. I think that this is franchise strong enough that we need 2 installments. I'm going to bring up Scream 2. I think Scream 2 is one of the great horror sequels. I think I love how it lampoons not even only horror sequels, but almost the first one with with Timothy Olyphant's character looking like Billy, and then Jerry O'Connell's great in this movie. The iconic the opening of this movie is really iconic. The with Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps at the theater, I just it's one like. Yeah, it's one I go back to all the time. I know it's a bold because I don't know if we want 2 installments on one list, but I wanted to bring it up anyway. So yeah, Scream 2.
Austin, what do you say about Scream 2?
We already have Scream. We don't need Scream 2. No.
Steve, what do you say about Scream 2?
Oh, you're tearing me apart, Richie. You're tearing me apart.
We don't need multiple movies from the same franchise. Let's keep it diverse.
I know.
Come on, let's get some more movies on there.
I know.
Or do we need it?
All right.
No.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I can't. Austin's right. We can't do that. We already have 2 Wes Craven movies up there. I don't think we should include a sequel. Yeah, I'm sorry, Richie. I'm gonna have to say no. Despite me wearing this damn shirt, me loving the movie, I have to say no. There's other movies that we should be including on this list.
Jordan, what do you say about Scream 2?
Well, I say screw diversity. Like Scream 2 absolutely deserves a spot on the list, and I think that it's one of the best horror sequels that's better than like over half the movies in the 90s. Like, not just horror movies, half the movies, period. And it's an awesome sequel, and it has an awesome cast. Like, it just plays really well off the first one. I mean, for me, I'm such a big Scream fan. I would even put Scream 4 on the list if I could, but it's not the 90s. So, but yeah, like I think that it definitely deserves a spot. Just bringing in people like Timothy Oliphant or like Omar Epps is like the crazy like camera guy who's always freaked out, thinks he's gonna die and everything. Like, I think that it's a lot of fun, and I'm fine with having 2 movies from one franchise on there. So yeah, I would say yes.
Which means it's currently a tie. It's on me.
Yeah.
Look, I love Scream 2. It is fun. It's like on my personal list. It is outside of the top 12. I am going to say no.
Look, I had to be bold. Okay, I knew I was going to.
You guys getting greedy. You guys getting greedy over here. Come on, knock it off.
You Scream 2 haters. You guys hate that movie, don't you?
I'm not a hater. I'm just saying.
No,
You
the
franchise.
You have to be diversifying. There's like three other movies that I like to get on the list before we put Scream 2 on it.
Yeah.
There's more movies I don't want to talk about.
But anyway, Austin, are you going to tell us one of these movies?
Yeah. This is a movie I came to fairly recently, but I've already gone back to it twice since I watched it, and I'm going to go with Tim Robbins starring in Jacob's Ladder, which is one of the best psychological horror movies I've ever seen. This thing grabs you from the beginning. He's kind of a PTSD, strung out, mail carrier. He's seeing all these horrific images throughout his life, just people with blank faces and like these weird demon creatures like running around. You have no idea what's going on. This movie is pure nightmare fuel, and it's one of those things where even more so than like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, like you don't know what the hell is real, like what's not, like what's in his mind. I mean, it's a real mind fuck of a movie, and it's one of those things where that the images in this movie will stick with you so much that it's stuck with me since I watched it, which is why I've had to go back to it and watch it several more times. So I mean, for the fact that it's had such a crazy impact on me, I've gone back to it so many times. I'm going to nominate Jacob's Ladder.
Steve, what do you say about Jacob's Ladder?
Unfortunately, Austin, I have to abstain and say I have not seen this movie.
I had a feeling this might happen, but that's okay. I still wanted to talk about it.
Jordan, what do you say about Jacob's Ladder?
Well, I've seen this movie, and honestly, like I'm not really a big fan of it. Like I don't hate it like I do some other movies, but like it just didn't really grab me. Like it had the like vibe of kind of like an artsy kind of foreign movie to me. I know it wasn't, but it kind of had that kind of vibe and feel to me, and like it just was just, I don't know, like it didn't really grab me or really entertain me. I felt honestly pretty bored watching this movie. So yeah, I can't put it on my list. It didn't even crack my top 20. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jacob's Ladder. Rich, have you seen Jacob's Ladder?
Am I the deciding vote here?
At this point, I don't think it's gonna.
No.
It's not gonna make it on.
It's not going to make it.
I would have said yes. It's good. It's great.
That movie's awesome.
It's been terrifying. And like Tim Robbins is an underrated actor. I don't need to put that out there. He's fucking great and everything, but no one talks about him.
He was great in the movie. I will say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, based on my rules, I need to remember this rule, but me and Steve have not seen it. So 3 people have seen it, and 2 of those 3 people said yes. So it does make this list.
Wow.
Nice.
All right.
What? Really?
I don't.
Yeah. It's a rule I forget to mention, but my rule is if someone hasn't seen the movie, that's not going to count as a no. It's just going to count as a not seen it, and it's the vote. If there's multiple yes votes out of the people who have seen it.
Damn, I should have said no. Right. Sorry, Austin.
But yeah. But luckily, Jordan had seen it and he said no to it. If Jordan had abstained, on the other hand. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I would have abstained, then yeah, I probably wouldn't have.
But anyway, that being said, as I try to remember how my own show works, Steve, we go to you for your next nomination.
All
right. I got. God, we're scrolling down, huh? We got like 4 choices left, 3 choices.
We got 3 more.
3.
God.
I down to the wire almost.
I got 2 movies I want to put on there, but I'm hoping this is the one I'm hoping. Richie, just hear me out, Richie. I'm hoping for you. You've seen Peter Jackson movies, and you know what horror movie I'm talking about. I'm hoping you mention this later on, but if nobody's going to mention it, I will. I hope so. Please. God, mention the other movie. I'm going to mention Gremlins 2, the new batch. Gremlins 2, Joe Dante. Another movie that I've seen before the original. It's a habit. I'm watching sequels before I watch the original. That's how my life's been going. Who would have thought that watching a movie the second time, the second sequel would, bring me back full circle. It brings back all the good people that didn't die in the first movie. We can't talk about Gremlins with Dick Miller. Come on, Dick Miller. You have Christopher fucking Lee as a mad scientist. You have Zach Galligan returning, B.B. Cates. You have Howie Mandel returning as Gonzo.
Gizmo.
Gizmo. Sorry, I got Muppets Haunted House on the brain. By the way, really good. You should check it out. Amazing effects. The monsters are unique in itself more than they were in the original one, and just the third act just gets real gritty, especially the demise of all the Gremlins. If you thought the first one was bad in terms of their demise, good Lord, the second one, and by God, this is another comedy horror movie that should be included along the likes of Army of Darkness. So Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Jordan, what do you say about Gremlins 2, the new batch?
Yeah. Gremlins 2 is awesome. I watched this movie a couple weeks back, and I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and I forgot how awesome and like how many cool references to different things there are in it. Like especially in when the Gremlins kind of break the film in the movie theater, and then they're doing shadow puppets on the screen. And you have Hulk Hogan come out. He's like, you dare take on the Hulkster, and he rips the shirt, the Grimster against the Hulkster or whatever, And then you have him, there's so many things. If you rewatch this, you'll catch new things every single time. I see him playing with Gremlins Lego sets and all kinds of really cool things. And also too that I do consider it a horror movie, just because when the Gremlins eat after midnight, they become these crazy creatures, and especially for kids, it's I was younger, I was definitely freaked out by the look of them, but yeah, there's such great kind of creepiness mixed in with the comedy, seeing the Brainiac Gremlin kind of talking like a human, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And so yeah, yeah, right. I'm gonna say yes to Gremlins 2. Yeah, Gremlins 2 is awesome.
Yeah, so I remember back last week we tried to get the first Gremlins on this list. It got denied.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I'm going to say no.
That's because
to-
Gremlins 2 is awesome. That's because Gremlins
Yeah.
2 is better.
It's better, yeah. Right.
Yeah, to be honest, it is actually.
I mean,
Mhm.
I personally disagree. I mean, I'd actually never seen Gremlins 2 until this week. But it's fine. It's still going to be a no from me, regardless of Gremlins not making it on last week. But and I thought the whole Hulk Hogan cameo thing was cringy because I mean,
Well, now it does for sure. Now, yeah.
well, no, not for that, not for his real life reasons.
So,
It's fun
I mean-
for the time, I feel like.
Because that's just one that I think if it was made today, they would have found a creative, a more interesting way to just make it seem like the movie was actually breaking in the middle of a movie theater. But it just doesn't. That doesn't really work. If you know it's going
they would have had Seth Rollins trying to say, "Let's burn it down," you know.
But anyway, so it's a no from me. Richie, what do you say about Gremlins 2, the new batch?
Absolutely, I can't believe I forgot to put this up.
Yes.
We've talked about this on on Gordon and Austin's channel. Like like this movie is batshit crazy, and I love it. I think Joe Dante didn't want to make a sequel. The studio forced him to, so he's just like, "Fuck it, this is what you get." I'm just gonna go very meta with it. It's just a lot of fun, and yeah, man, absolutely, yes.
And also what you have said about Gremlins 2.
Oh, hell yeah, Gremlins 2 is in my top 20 movies of all time, dude. I fucking love Gremlins 2, man. Like there's something new every time you watch it, something in the background or something you catch. And actually, like some of the creatures, like I love the way they expand the creature designs in this movie. Like the spider gremlin is awesome. Like that vegetable gremlin is great. Like the gargoyle gremlin. Like you got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Yeah, you got Christopher Lee, one of the massive horror, in there holding Invasion of the Body Snatchers pods just for no reason, just like walking around with them. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff. Like this movie's awesome, and it's still Gremlins. Like when things go crazy, they're still attacking and like killing people in the movie. So like it's absolutely a horror movie because there's still crazy stuff going on. There's dudes that are getting like electrocuted. There's guys who are getting their necks bit off. Like it's still crazy, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, Gremlins 2 is sheer anarchy on screen, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing positive I'll say about this, it gave us one of my favorite William Bibiani entrances when it was a callback to Leonard Maltin's appearance in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Leonard Maltin, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, Jordan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
2 spots left.
Yeah, shoot, we're getting down to the wire, and like like I have some that are my personal favorites, but gosh, I'm like trying to like find what's like what you guys are gonna agree with me on. Because basically I'm just kind of down to my kind of like niche kind of like personal picks, but I'll just go with one that's kind of a bit of a guilty pleasure. I mean, a lot of people do like it, but I gotta go with The Faculty. So The Faculty, for me, it was a movie that my first roommate that I ever had is like one of the only horror movies that he owned. So I watched it on repeat all the time. So I've seen this movie like about 15, 20 times. And like it's just great. Just like seeing these kind of like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers type movie, and then just seeing like just kind of like a zany cast of like Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett, Usher, just kind of running around through the school, seeing all the teachers kind of turning into these kind of alien creatures and just trying to navigate their way through it. It's a lot of fun. Got a lot of humor in it too. So I think that's a good time. So yeah, I'm gonna throw The Faculty up there. So
I've actually never seen this. It's definitely one that I've heard a lot about that I want to watch, but I just haven't got around to it. Richie, what do you say about The Faculty?
Faculty is fun. It's a really good movie. If we had more slots, I'd squeeze it in there. But the fact we only got 2 slots, I just can't say yes to this. But I appreciate appreciate this you bringing it up. So no.
Austin, what do you say about the faculty?
It's in my personal top 64, so I'm going to say yes. I love the faculty, and the faculty. I love anything Body Snatchers. Body Snatchers rocks. This is in that post Scream kind of world. Kevin Williamson wrote the script. The guy who wrote Scream. So it's got all these like kind of young stars. It's very self-aware as far as they mention Body Snatchers in the movie and talk about the novel. And they're more well aware of like what's going on and how to maybe try to defeat it. But yeah, the cast is insane. It's so deep. Robert Patrick and Salma Hayek and Famke Jensen and Piper Laurie and God, that goes on and on. There's like 1,000 people in this movie. It's great. Yeah, I think the faculty rocks, and it's the best Body Snatchers movie we got in the 90s. And yeah, I think it slides right in with stuff like Scream. So I'll say yes for the faculty.
Steve, it's on you. What do you say about the faculty?
Listen, great cast. Body Snatchers of the 90s, but we got two picks here, and unfortunately, I'm gonna say no. There's a few movies that I put above the faculty. Listen, Austin, I respect your love for the faculty, but for me, I just have to pass it because I actually watched it recently, and for me, it didn't really. It's just. For me, it wasn't that. Looking back at it, it just wasn't. I found some good qualities of it, but it was more for me like a man movie than it was like a good to great movie. So I have to say no. I'm sorry.
Come on, Josh Hartnett's a big tall drink of water in that movie, man.
Yeah, right.
Man.
But anyway, it's
Yeah, I kind of figured, yeah, that it might not make it, yeah.
But anyway, it's on me. There's about 3 that I want to bring up, but I've got 2 spots left. I'm gonna go for this one. This is high up on my list, so it wouldn't be true to myself if I don't bring it up. I'm gonna bring up Hocus Pocus. This is a good family horror movie starring Bette Midler, Susan Sarandon. I cannot remember who the other one is.
Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Bette Midler, yeah.
But anyway, Hocus Pocus it's a fun movie. This is just one of those ones that, this is one that I actually hadn't seen until a few years ago when Disney Plus was first released. But this is just one that I really enjoy watching, and it's one that I'm probably going to start trying to watch once, like every October at some stage. So this is probably going to be one I'm going to watch. If it doesn't make the list, I'm not too upset about it, but I'm going to try. Richie, what do you say about Hocus Pocus?
Well, Hocus Pocus is fun. It's fine. But when people think of horror movies, this does not come to mind at all. I mean, I know it kind of is. I know it is. But yeah, I don't know. I just think with a few spots left, I can't justify it. So I'm going to say no.
Austin, what do you say about Hocus Pocus?
To quote a famous Malcolm catchphrase, it's fine. I don't understand the love for like Hocus Pocus. People think it's like the greatest thing of all time. Look, it's an okay enough family movie to get you in the mood for Halloween. You put it on in the background. There's kids trick or treating. It's fun. I don't hate it, but when I think of like the greatest horror movies of the '90s, like I don't put Hocus Pocus anywhere in the same universe as some of these movies, man. Like at all. Like no for me.
Steve, what do you say about Hocus Pocus? Austin summed it up best for me. It was not even in my list. If it's not even on my list, I can't even consider it putting on this list. So it's fine. I also too don't understand the love for it, but it is what it is. It's a family Halloween movie, but best horror movie of the '90s? I don't think so. No.
Jordan, what would you have said about Hocus Pocus?
Well, it's fine, but it's not on my list either. Like it's like one of those kind of go-tos. Like if I have a bunch of kids with me, just kind of like if I'm like watching like my nieces and nephews, I might throw on Hocus Pocus. But yeah, it's just okay to me. Like, it's not a bad movie by any means, but it's not great. And so, yeah, I gotta say no. But we'll say though, you're gonna get your sequel in 2022. I think they keep like teasing us with the sequels like for years and years and years. They say it's coming to Disney Plus, so you might get a sequel next year. But yeah,
Yeah,
Malcolm is jumping on his broomstick immediately.
yep.
but anyway,
shout out to
Richie
Doug
was-
Jones, who's in that movie as the zombie guy, like who early Doug Jones
yeah.
stuff. The guy, yeah, he's great kind of stunt creature actor. Yeah, doesn't get enough credit.
but anyway, Richie, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm kind of glad to get to talk about this. I'm gonna talk about we haven't had. I don't think we've got any of his any of his movies on this list yet. But I'm gonna go with Misery. I think Misery is a really good horror movie. I mean, I think it's Kathy Bates' breakout performance. She's chilling as this obsessed fan. I think it's great. We go back to all the time. James Caan's great. So I'm hoping it gets on this. I know there's only 2 spots left, but I want to throw it out there. So Misery.
Austin, what do you say about Misery?
Yes to Misery. Misery is pretty high up on my list. It's around number 5. Misery is the best Stephen King adaptation of the 90s. Kathy Bates giving a literal Oscar performance in this movie, and it's crazy stalker psychological horror, like the way she is just off her damn rocker in that movie. Some of the most terrifying horror is like what people are just capable of doing when they're kind of off their rocker, and that's real human horror. And it's I definitely think Misery should have a spot on here. It's higher up on my list, so I would say yes.
Steve, what do you say about Misery?
Damn you, Richie. No, you didn't take mine. It's not the movie, but it's in my honorable mentions. I have a feeling it's going to get passed, but I personally, I'm going to say no. I did like the movie. I didn't think it was a great movie. It's not top tier Rob Reiner for me. There's other movies, Spinal Tap, Princess Bride, and others. But yes, Kathy Bates delivers an Oscar-winning performance before Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster delivered theirs, and a year later. But I like it, and it's in my honorable mentions. But I want to give some love to a particular movie, and I hope to get to it, hopefully. But I'm going to say no, just to be a little greedy.
Jordan, what do you say about Misery?
I'm your number 1 fan. I'm a huge Misery fan, and Kathy Bates gives an amazing performance. Like, this movie just from her performance alone, I would say yes, because overall, I do feel like the movie's kind of slow, kind of dragged in some parts, but her performance is just an all-timer performance. It's just so good. Like the scene where she breaks the guy's kneecaps. It's just a chilling scene, and it's an awesome performance, and it's probably one of the my favorite from the 90s. I gotta say yes to Misery.
And Misery does make this list, and I just simply haven't seen this. This is another one that I've really been wanting to watch, but I just haven't found it anywhere to either hire out from my library or.
Hey Jordan, Malcolm needs access to my Vudu because I have all these movies on my Vudu.
Yeah, right.
He just needs access to it. He can stream everything. That's what Jordan did. I just gave him my Vudu password, and he just logged on and watched all these movies.
He has everything pretty much when it comes to.
I got everything.
But anyway, Austin, what's the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm going to bring up. We don't even have a ghost supernatural movie on here, and I think easily the biggest one that we forget how much of an impact it had when it came out is The Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment, M. Night Shyamalan, and 1999 just skirts in there, and we kind of take for granted what it did at the time when it came out, and everybody being shocked by the ending and all that. But how well it's made, like it just creeps up on your skin. I think the scene where Haley Joel Osment gets locked in that attic thing is one of the most chilling, terrifying things. The opening scene with Donnie Wahlberg is creepy and horrifying. This is when Bruce Willis gave a shit still. Just crazy imagery throughout the movie, all the different ghosts that are kind of messed up, like all the people hanging in the background, like when they just walk by something. Just absolutely terrifying what this kid is going through. And like if we're gonna bring up something pretty much kind of mainstream, Sixth Sense, man, I think it deserves to be on the list.
Steve, what do you say about Sixth Sense?
It is on my list. All right, I won't be greedy. I will say I'm going to be a reluctant yes.
You're going to really put Dead Alive over that? Like, come on, man. Dead Alive's fun, but it's like a midnight movie.
Yeah, I mean,
come on, dude. Like, Dead Alive's like a grindhouse movie.
I had more fun than.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, at least it's the cat's out of the bag, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being out of the bag, yes. I'm going to put Sixth Sense. It for all the things Austin said, he is 100% correct. Bruce Willis did give a damn. Haley Joel Osment delivers an iconic performance. I mean, you can't talk about. I don't think you can. Before this, you couldn't really talk about ghost movies until Sixth Sense came out, and with his lines, "I see dead people," and now that's been spoofed to beyond all recognition. Let's also mention Olivia. It's Olivia Williams. Olivia Williams. I'm pretty sure. Don't know. I'm pretty sure Toni Collette delivers a great
awesome.
Its performance as Haley Joel Osment's mother. And this was the rocket that put M. Night Shyamalan into the stratosphere. And amazing direction, great screenplay. Donnie Wahlberg. What more do you ask? Sixth Sense, yes.
Jordan, what did you say about Sixth Sense?
Well, yeah, I think this is a perfect closer to the top 12. Like, I would say yes. And I'm trying to remember the quote that Donnie Wahlberg gives in the opening scene. Like, I always completely butcher it, but I remember the way that I felt, where he's like, I do, like where he's like just really freaked out about the things that he sees and everything, and like just seeing someone pop up in your bedroom in the middle of the night like that would just be like one of the most terrifying things for me. And yeah, like we had a big influence. And actually, funny enough, the first time that I saw it, I didn't even realize Bruce Willis was even dead the whole time. My dad had to explain it to me. He's like, he was dead the entire time. I'm like, oh,
if you haven't watched The Sixth Sense by now, you're not gonna watch it. So yeah,
right. If you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, come on, the movie's like
come on, like what are you doing?
But
I had to do that.
but yeah, The Sixth Sense is great, and yeah, like it's one of those movies that I catch something new every time I watch it too. So yeah, I'm gonna
go. The red in the movie indicates that there's somebody dead in the room. Go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It's always something red in the scene.
Also, just to correct you, Jordan, Sixth Sense is 22 years old, not almost 30.
22 years old. Well, it's getting there. Yeah.
I mean, it's only just old like enough to drink it now.
Yeah, right. True.
But anyway, I'm not gonna lie. This is one that I completely forgot about. Not so much that I didn't think it was a horror movie. Like when I compiled my list, Wikipedia is good for some things. Like when it comes to absolute fact, it's not really. But like they've got lists of genre movies from decades, so I went through all that. Made a whole list of all of them, and then listed the ones I've seen and ones I should see on there. But yeah, Sixth Sense for some reason was not on there, so I just completely forgot about it. But I'm glad it did come up. Otherwise, if it was there, then I would have brought it up already. But Sixth Sense is great. It was a yes for me. It makes the list. Richie, what would you have said about the Sixth Sense?
Yeah, not gonna lie, I forgot about this as well. But this is fantastic.
We take the movie for granted, man. That was part of my point. Like we take the movie for granted that it came out, and we almost kind of forget like how big it was. Like that movie made like $100 million. Like for a horror movie, that's a lot of money. I think it might have even made more than that. And for 1999, that was huge. Like everybody saw that movie.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. He it's still in Night Shyamalan's work. You know, I like some of his later stuff, but I don't think I think Sixth Sense is just a tier above it. Haley Joel Osment gets child performances. It's a shame that he didn't become a bigger star, but Tony Collette's awesome. This is a great closer to the list.
You're welcome.
But with that, we have reached the end of the list. And just to recap what we've got on here, we have got Tremors, Silence of the Lambs, Candyman, Event Horizon, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, From Dusk Till Dawn, Army of Darkness, Scream, Jacob's Ladder, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, Misery, and The Sixth Sense. Steve, did you have any honorable mentions?
We were me and Austin were arguing about this. Dead Alive.
It's not arguing. I like Dead Alive. I just think it's more of a fun, just midnight movie, than one of the great horror movies of all time. It's a very niche movie. It literally made me sick the first time I saw it. That's how
okay. So I would understand why you probably would be against that. Yeah. Dead Alive. I also had a Blair Witch Project. I mean, dude, you had people thinking that these guys disappeared, for the love of God. I also had a Bride of Chucky. To each your own taste. This was one of the ones that I actually found the time where Chucky wasn't frightening to me, so we figured. I also had Sleepy Hollow, Bram Stoker's Dracula, despite Keanu Reeves' horrible accent. Chronos, Darkman, House on Haunted Hill, and Idle Hands.
Jordan, did you have any honorable mentions?
I had a few of them, yeah. So I definitely had the Blair Witch Project on there. I felt that that movie was very influential for what it did, and being on such a small budget, how much money that the movie actually made was impressive, and then the rest are just kind of some kind of guilty kind of favorites. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Bride of Chucky's also on mine. Arachnophobia, The Good Son, even The Exorcist 3 for having one of the best jump scares in cinema history. So I'll put that on there. And then Sleepy Hollow too. I'll give a shout out. So
I mean, for me, Blair Witch is just one of those ones that has been parodied to death. And it's one of those ones when and that I'm sick of seeing it. When I rewatch the movie, it just doesn't really excite me anymore. It's fine.
But it's not the Blair Witch Project's fault, though. It came after.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it was. It's just one of those ones I've never really been high on anyway. But anyway. But for me, some of my own mentions. Now, this is one that did appear on the Wikipedia page that, after thinking about it, I do consider it a horror movie, but it's one that I didn't think it would have. But the movie Ghost, with Patrick Swayze. And
Wikipedia can be wrong sometimes. It's all right.
Well, it's one of those ones I do. I didn't bring it up because I didn't knew it would have made it in anyway. But it's one that I personally kind of.
When I think horror, I think pottery making. That's what I think.
Pottery. You edit a Wikipedia page right now myself. Actually, a lot of people do that.
But I mean, it's not. I've seen it on a few other lists, but anyway.
Sure.
But Interview with a Vampire, Leprechaun, Alien 3, I actually really do like. And it's one that really does go back to a horror series, so to speak, after Aliens. And I think I've mentioned this on something before, but the 90's Haunting with Liam Neeson, it's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I do actually like that movie.
Oh, that was all cast. I'll give it that.
Woo. P.U.
And
smell that one through the screen.
And Apt Pupil with Ian McKellen is fun. But Richie, what mentions did you have?
The only thing good about The Haunting is when Owen Wilson gets his head chopped off. That was pretty fun. No, yeah, there's a couple. I think most people have mentioned stuff, but the people under the stairs, in the Mouth of Madness, I'm glad someone mentioned Idle Hands. It's a very great horror comedy. I forgot that came out in the 90s, but in 1999. Also, a guilty pleasure that would never make the list, but I don't mind. Urban Legend. So yeah. So yeah, there's one.
And Austin, what did you have?
Yeah, I had some similar ones to Richie. In the Mouth of Madness is really underrated and great. Bram Stoker's Dracula, Arachnophobia, if we were kind of stretching that one to be like kind of a creature feature. People Under Stairs is really good too, but we had enough Wes Craven on the list. Exorcist 3, Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight is actually really underrated and really great too. And then my guilty pleasure on the list is Tales from the Hood. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But and ones they were mentioned in the chat, Chris Diaz brought up Blair Witch Project, which we already talked about. Cape Fear 1991, Interview of Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and the original Japanese version of Ring.
Ringu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ringu. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming that's the one he's talking about because the other one will be probably talking about next week when we move into 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we going to get onto the voting part and actually put this in some form of order. I've already got my number 12 down
same.
here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna use my phone. Is it cool if I just say?
Yeah,
my...
that's fine.
Okay.
But Richie, what do you have for 12?
That's fun, but okay.
I'm gonna just because it just begrudgingly got in there. I'm gonna say Jacob's Ladder.
Austin, what do you have for 12?
Army of Darkness.
Steve.
Jacob's Ladder.
Jordan.
Jacob's Ladder.
Gremlins 2. But Jacob's Ladder is going to be 12.
All right. It's not easy.
Hey, at least it made it to the list.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not
Yeah.
easy being green.
Yeah.
Right. But Austin, what do you have?
I'm just gonna stick with Army of Darkness.
Jacob Barber wants to know what we have against his ladder.
Yeah, right. Serious.
Steve, what do you have?
It's a very short ladder.
Event Horizon.
Jordan.
I have Event Horizon. Yeah.
I put Gremlins 2. Richie.
Yeah, I would have said Event Horizon.
Okay.
It's tough because everything on the list that's left I love.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, what do you have for 10?
Tremors.
Jordan.
Wait to bring it up so early on, but I'm gonna go Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, geez, you're out of your mind.
Gremlins 2. Richie.
Army of Darkness.
It's a tough call. For me.
Thank you, Army of Darkness. Let's get it out of here. Come on.
Fair enough.
More horror than Army of Darkness.
Move over to 9. Jordan.
I'm gonna stick with Silence of the Lambs. So
I'm sticking with Gremlins 2.
You're gonna fight a losing battle there, Jordan.
It's all right. I won't ever have to erase anything.
Tremors.
Austin.
Gremlins 2.
Steve.
Tremors.
So I've got 2 votes for Tremors, 2 votes for Gremlins 2. Jordan. Which one? Gremlins 2 or Tremors? Which one should be 9?
Probably have to go with Tremors. I think Gremlins 2 is awesome. So
And Tremors is going to be 9. But I've still got Gremlins 2. Richie,
Yeah, I'll put Gremlins too.
Austin,
Yeah, it's time for Gremlins too.
Steve,
At this point, does it matter? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Avenging Dead Alive, Misery.
and Jordan.
I feel like I'm kind of like losing out on a vote, but we're sticking with this one, so I may have to switch it up. But I'm Silence of the Lambs.
I ain't getting
But
that one for a little bit.
But Gremlins 2 is going to be 8.
All right, I'm gonna switch it up just because no one else is gonna vote for it. So that's the only reason.
Richie, what do you have?
Misery.
Dust Till Dawn.
Jordan.
I don't know. Steve?
I have Misery.
Steve, I'm not going in any specific order.
Oh, okay.
Besides, I
Gotcha.
knew Steve probably had Misery, so.
Yeah.
But I've got
Fair
Misery
enough.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so used to going after Austin. I'm like, oh shit, what's the Jordan? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a business about Misery, and it's at 7.
Oh, I said that was my chair for a second. Shit.
That's a
No,
squeaky. That's a squeaky.
No,
thing.
that's my marker all of a sudden. So.
Yeah, squeaky market.
I was moving along with the squeak. I'm like, wait a second, is that my chair? I think
Yeah.
I just bought this fucker.
Somebody farted.
That's what they always say. It's the chair.
Yeah, right.
It's a chair.
Swear.
But Richie, what do you have for 6?
All right. From Dust Till Dawn.
Austin,
Yeah. Dust Till Dawn.
Steve,
From Dusk Till Dawn. When you bring it
Jordan.
I'm going back to it because I didn't want to put From Dusk Till Dawn, Silence of the Lambs.
From Dust Till
I
Dawn.
think From Dust Till Dawn is... Dude, come
Brother,
on.
you're losing out,
I'm
man.
fun. I'm here to
Give
have fun
up.
here. When I watch movies, I'm here to have fun. I'm not here to see some
Give
kind of
up.
introspective best of all time. Artsy, whatever movie, you know.
Going on to 5. And just to recap, we've got Silence of the Lambs,
You wanna-
Candyman, New Nightmare, Scream, and The Sixth Sense.
All right, because they're forcing me. I gotta switch it, I guess. Okay.
But Austin,
6 Sense.
Steve,
I like what you're thinking. Avenging Dead Alive, 6 Sense.
Yeah, I went with
Jordan.
the Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Fred Craven's New Nightmare. Richie,
I said Candyman.
The Sixth Sense is not going
Number
to be
5.
6. I think we failed. I think we failed somewhere along the line.
I don't know.
I mean, we got Halloween 3 at number 3 last week. So
Yeah.
How did they make
Mhm.
number 3?
I didn't vote for number 3 on that one. I voted like number 10.
Yeah, same. I
I
didn't
mean,
know.
I expect the pig, but 3 anyway. Good.
Yeah.
but anyway, Steve, what do you have for 4?
I've got Candyman.
Jordan,
Well, from here on out, I gotta stick with it. Silence of the Lambs.
I went New Nightmare.
It
Richie
drags a lot from.
Candyman.
and Austin.
Ty, New Nightmare.
So Jordan, a New Nightmare or Candyman at 4?
I'll probably go.
He's going to say Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, right. Silence of the Lambs, yes. Let's do it.
I mean, if there was a tie with Silence of the Lambs, then maybe someone else would have gone with it. But
Yeah. What is Silence of the Lambs, Alex?
but Wes Craven's New Nightmare is going to be 4.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know a lot of people will be criticizing the fact that I haven't brought up Silence of the Lambs yet, but I figured that it wasn't going to be voted on, so I just chose not to.
You're gonna lose out on a vote when you stick with something no one else votes for, but it's fine.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people that love Silence of the Lambs, and there's a lot of people that do consider it a horror movie. So you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jordan, what do you have for number 3? If I have to ask.
Yeah, right. If you have to ask, Silence of the Lambs. Hello, Clarice.
I put Scream at 3. Richie.
Candyman.
Candyman.
Austin.
Candyman.
Oh,
Well, it's not going to be said
nice.
5 times, but it still makes number 3.
Watch Silence of the Lambs be number 1, and I voted it at like 10.
so we're voting for number 1 now, right?
Yeah, we're going straight to number 1. It's between Scream and Silence of the Lambs.
So we're putting down our number 1, right?
You're voting your number 1. Yeah, your number 1.
The other one becomes 2 by default.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these are my personal number 1. I will say what my personal number 1 was. But anyway, later. Richie, what do you have at number 1?
Scream.
Austin.
Scream.
Steve.
I picked my personal choice, Silence of the Lambs.
Did Jordan forget and just put Silence of the
Yeah,
Lambs?
right. Yep. No. Scream.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I put Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Not mad at that.
Even though you didn't consider it a horror movie.
Well, I mean, it's one of those ones like I consider it enough to include it on the list because, like when you're talking about genres, it does say thriller, and I consider thriller and horror to be one and the same.
Yeah.
But it's just one that I personally wasn't going to bring up, but I knew was going to come up anyway.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Probably was a full sweep.
I mean, it's why I chose not to. I didn't bring up Ghost because I knew that even though I do see enough of the argument that it is a horror movie, I didn't think it was going to come up, so I just chose not to bring it up.
I'd love to see a horror movie. It's.
I mean, look. I mean, if you look onto IMDb, it says drama, fantasy, romance, thriller. So it is under that thriller.
And none of those are the word horror. I'll point out.
Well, as I said, I consider the words thriller and horror to be basically the same.
Whoopi Goldberg really terrifies me in that movie.
Yeah, but look, I'll say this. I don't consider thriller and horror to be the same thing because Run Lola Run is a thriller because she's literally running around and it's thrilling, but like it's not a horror movie. Like there are thrills without horror. Like I think there's a debate to be had there.
I mean, it's one of those ones. There's always a debate when it comes to the difference between thriller and horror. It's like for me, like they're similar. I mean, I'm not saying they're exactly the same thing because for me, like horror is definitely scary and stuff, but it's also one of those ones like when it comes to horror comedies, even though they're mostly funny, I still would say they're horror as well. But for me, when it comes to thrillers, it's more psychological, suspense-driven sort of thing. So I mean, but it's one of those ones like we can have a big debate in it. This is not the show.
Sure.
But
next week on Rangum, thriller versus horror.
Yeah, right.
Malcolm and Austin, the debate of the century.
Yeah.
Late night on with Malcolm.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, to recap our top 12 that we have, at 12, we've got Jacob's Ladder. At 11, we've got Event Horizon. At 10, we've got Army of Darkness. At 9, we've got Tremors. At 8, we've got Gremlins 2, the new batch. At 7, we've got Misery. At 6, we got From Dusk Till Dawn. At 5, we've got The Sixth Sense. At 4, we've got Wes Craven's New Nightmare. At 3, we got Candyman. At 2, we got Silence of the Lambs. And at number 1, we got Scream. But
Right.
next week
Solid
we
list.
move. But next week we move over to the decade of the 2000s. And we'll have Paige on there. The aforementioned Jacob who's in the chat will be there as well, plus a couple of other people as well. I believe
Nice.
it's going to be Chad and his wife Kerry on here. A lot of people wanted to be on 2010, so it was really hard to find a bunch of. It's those ones are long lists.
Mm.
But anyway, with that being said, Richie, we can people find you online.
All right, you can get just on Facebook, Richie Goodacre. You can like my comedy page if you want. That'd be nice. Yeah, and then just see me all over the fan leagues, and I've appeared 3 times in a row on Jordan Austin's channel. I'm sure I'm gonna be there again, and and then video games and Malcolm's favorite movies, which will be an interesting list. So yeah. But yeah, I'm around.
Austin, where can people find you online?
Movie Hero 2121 is the Twitter page if you want to follow the show. And then I'm on all over Jordan's channel, which is the Movie Hero channel. Like you said, tournament fights and tier ranker fights, I co-host pretty much all the time. And Malcolm, if you need me, if somebody drops out, you always hit me up if somebody drops out. I'm the horror guy, so somebody will inevitably drop out, and then he'll hit me up to sub in. So no worries.
Yep.
Probably next week it might be interesting to see if we do get you, because there's a long list of people who want to be on there. Because you have been on a few already.
No, that's fine. No worries.
Yeah.
That's good. We already did, like I said, we already did tier ranker fights for all these decades too. So go check those out. If you want to see our version of that, tier ranker fights for the 2000s, 2010s, 90s, 80s, all that stuff. So go check those out.
So those young kids that weren't alive for the
80s and stuff, and all these 90s horrors.
Yep.
But Steve, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Steve Mess on Twitter. They can also find me at Messa Media. It's my production company that specializes in shooting and editing pro wrestling footage. You can check me out at your local James L. Knight Center for AEW Rampage and AEW Dynamite. You can check me out at Spooky Empire. You can check me out, which is 2 weeks from now. Check me out at Mayhem on Mills. You can check me out at North Peace Underground Nihilism. You can also check me out 3 weeks later at Fest. We are family and that's it for the rest of the month. I don't do much in Halloween, so I just chill back and pass out candy.
And Jordan, we can people find you online.
You can find me all over the Movie Hero Network. Just a couple of shows we have coming up. So this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to be doing best comedies of the 2000s. So Malcolm, you're going to be on that episode. So that should be a fun time. Just to give the lineup for that one, we have Christy V from the Schmodown. We have Anthony Tisdale, which is her husband. Then we're also going to have Nick Harley from the Schmodown, and then Malcolm and Austin will be there, of course. So that should be a fun time. And then just a couple other topics we have coming up. So coming up next Friday, we have best movies with a serial killer. And then the Tuesday after that, we're going to be doing Malcolm Lade's top 64 movies of all time. So that should be a wild ride, because I know your movie taste kind of spans all over the place.
I don't know what the hell's going to be on that list.
Yeah,
Ghost.
Right. Yeah, Ghost. Yeah. But and then also we're going to be doing best supernatural horror movies, and then coming up on the last Tuesday of the month, we're going to have our horror championship episode where we're going to put the top 10 from all of our horror decade shows into one final tier ranker fight, and we're going to see who makes the final top 10. So tune in for that.
But yeah, I mean, a along with everything that Jordan just said. You can find me on Tape View Productions, where I host late night every Sunday. There won't be a late night, so to speak, tomorrow, but we will be talking about the What If series and doing a review on what we thought on each episode in Marvel What Ifs. You can find me doing Rankum every Saturday, and next week is Home Move to the 2000s with Paige Fabretti, Jacob, and the Rebs. You can find me over on Full Metal, where I host trivia matches. Classic will be on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And also happening next week, I also do Full Metal Random, and next week you're going to see Steve compete in a Tarantino match against Mark Meyer and Antonio Chavez.
Okay.
But until next time, just stay random, everybody.
What if Ghost was a horror movie?
Yeah, right.